observing features on Jupiter's moons and other observations on episode 499 of the Actual Astronomy Podcast. I'm Chris, and joining me is Shane. We are amateur astronomers who love looking up at the night sky, and this podcast is for everyone who enjoys going out under the stars. So, Shane, you were looking at the Cloudy Nights forum and came across an interesting item, but maybe I should ask first if you've been out getting some observing in.
I have not observed, but I'm officially on vacation for 2 weeks. So
Nice.
for listeners' reference, it's August 17th when we record this. And I do have some daytime observing plans and a lot of evening observing plans, and 2 nights in Grasslands National Park East Block during new
Nice.
moon. So yeah, I'm really hoping for good conditions and lots of observing. How about yourself?
No, I mean, our weather has been really poor. Like anybody who's kind of watching the news, even I think on national news, they've, I think, been reporting on the fires that we've had and continue to have here, though this past week they settled down. But right where we are in Saskatchewan, we've had tons and tons of rain. Like it is, I don't think it's ever been this humid on the 17th of August ever.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it has been a little strange, but I don't think I don't I don't know if there's weather that's not strange much anymore.
Yeah.
Mm.
But I see it looks like that the smoke has calmed down at least for the time being. So hopefully this is the beginning of the end, or maybe even the end of some of those big smoke and fires up there. There was one you and I were chatting. I don't know if I don't think I put it on the podcast or anything, but there was a fire that reached about 560,000 hectares, which is the same size as the island of Prince Edward Island, and that was one fire
hmm
that
hmm
we've had here. And we've had several fires that were in the 400, 300, 100,000 hectare size, and dozens and dozens and dozens of more fires. So, yeah, it's been quite the summer. No, so I did get something this week, though,
Yeah, what
which
was
was
that?
very exciting, was
I think you sent a picture.
I got my Alico gate opener.
Yes. So this will assist with I guess kind of rolling the roof off and then closing the dome at the or closing the observatory at the end of the night.
Yeah, and in chatting with my builder, he kind of was thinking about doing something, because with the 7 inch, when you have put a 7 inch refractor in an observatory, it tends to take up a lot of room, strangely enough. And so he noticed this when he was rolling it off. Even he was kind of like, it's not really designed to have a telescope this big in it. I'm like, I know, but it fits. And so we laughed, and he started throwing out some ideas. And I said, well, if you're interested, there is a way to do this with a gate opener. And so I shot him the videos and the product and that sort of thing. And he said, all right, yeah, order it up. So I ordered it up, and it said it wasn't going to come for like 5 or 6 weeks, and then it came like 3 or 4 days later. It was here, so that was pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And he took it apart and has been kind of figuring it out. But he does. I mean, he's a professional builder. It's what he does. This is like his hobby. Part of building is helping me with the observatory. So it's not like he's going to show up here at 8:30 tomorrow, on Monday morning and start working on it. But it's this is not how this is being built. It's like, okay, I'm gonna mess around with this in my workshop. Like he's got it all apart in his workshop, and then when he has time and it's like a nice day for doing it, and he has nothing else going on, and everything lines up, then he'll come and stick it on or start playing with it, just as time and interest allow, which is great. I really do appreciate it. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Should be able just to go up and undo the latches and then hit a button and have it slide off. Not that it's that bad, but with the telescope in there, I mean, there's not that much room on the side that you're really supposed to push it, and it's just yeah, it's just a bit of a hassle to bring it back at night when it's 3 o'clock in the morning and cold and dark, and everything like that. So I hope that it works and simplifies the process. I'm pretty excited for it though.
Yeah, yeah. So is that kind of the finishing touch then on the observatory?
Kind of not. I mean, isn't that the joke that observatory's never done? Kind of.
Yeah, yeah, fair.
But yeah, so that's sort of a major thing, needless to say, and
Yeah.
it's kind of sort of the last major thing. But might need another set of wheels to do this, so that might have to happen as well. And I think I mentioned last week he went up and did some more sealing and that in and around the windows and gaps. So once he gets this in, then what I'll be able to do is kind of finish the paint and the floor. It's not that much work, but just because of other life events and such, I don't know. 50-50 whether it will get done this year. If we get like a really nice, warm, beautiful October, um, then I should be able, if I can get like a 3 or 4 day weekend, then I can early like the first or second weekend of October, then I can finish it, but it needs to be like nice and warm in October to finish the painting on the inside, which I knew last year when I didn't get it done. I knew I was going to end up in this situation, but because see the when he's doing the work which needs to be done, uh, it will like cause a little bit of dust and whatever. And what I'm trying to do is to paint. I clean it and whatever, but it will need like it needs sort of a final coat of paint over top of the wood after he's got so much dust on it. I did 2 walls last year, and then it needs it on 2 more walls. But at this point, I might as well wait until this work is done, and then just wipe them down, and then give those walls the final coat of paint. The other 2 walls are totally fine. It's not raising too much dust right now, but might as well just wait on that.
Hmm.
Yeah, so then, yeah, I was painting a pegboard. We're going to put a pegboard up, so it's pretty much done. Again, he'll probably come up and stick that in, uh, probably in a week or so, and then I can hang some stuff in there if I need to or whatever. Just there's like just space on a wall, and it's hard to hang anything on the wall just the way the what do you call them? The joists are, whatever they are. Anyway,
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
but no observing. I think there was one night that was okay, and I'm really just sort of focused on trying to pick off the things in the observatory for now. And working on the calendar is I got the draft back on Friday, and then also got my draft back for my Observer's Handbook article. Going to do Taurus. Might do a little tour of Taurus next week for one of the episodes, Shane, if you're up for that.
Sounds good.
And yeah, so you were looking at a what is it? They call it Jovian moons, but basically Jupiter's moons and observing features on Jupiter's moons. Is that what they were chatting about?
Yeah, there's a thread that was started. There wasn't much activity on it, just about observing, yeah, detail on the four main Galilean moons around Jupiter, and it's something I've always been kind of intrigued by. And I've read periodic reports of this over the years of amateurs visually observing some of the features on the moons. And I don't know if you've ever seen any of the features, but with Jupiter becoming an evening planet here in the coming months, it's there should be many opportunities, hopefully, to try to observe some of these details.
I did on October 16th, 2022, and we put it in episode 266 of the podcast.
Well, there we go. Well, there's my poor memory.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was able to observe some of the detail on Europa in the 4 inch.
Just the
Um,
color coming through, or what were you able to see?
whoa, no, like texture, like it looked like something. Let's see, what did this guy write? So this guy DeSitter, is a pretty well-known observer, I think. And Alan Whitman was reading this article too. He's referenced in our last podcast. I know Alan. One night of exceptional steady seeing in dark skies, observing Jupiter with my Meade 5-inch ED. Uh, I was sure I was seeing some albedo features on Ganymede. but I could not believe a 5-inch scope could do this. Nevertheless, made a mental note of the time. Um, Sure enough, there was an albedo feature on Ganymede where you would expect to find it, something like a salt lake pan in Bolivia, as far as a visual observation. So, was not imagining things. Um, yes, and that's kind of sort of what I saw as well. And to me, it looked almost like an eggshell type
Mhm.
feature.
What
That's
magnifications were you using?
Oh, very high.
Yeah, it would have to
Like,
be. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So probably using like my 3.5 millimeter Pentax or something like that. I think it's in that episode 266. I remembered um, when I made that because it really struck out in my mind. And I even have oh, I thought I had it here, but I think I can even shoot you the the sketch because I did a sketch and it was a funny, you might recall this because you thought it was funny, was that I did a sketch in ink and then I had to redo that sketch. So let's see if I have it here. Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
do.
while you're searching, I was going through some other Cloudy Night threads, and this one's from 2017. Username Asbitech or Aspitech, and using a 6-inch Maksutov at 380 times. He has a sketch in here of what he saw in Ganymede, and it's pretty amazing. Like a lot of real distinct albedo textures and features, like the Galileo region, the sulcus,
Hmm.
a bright limb, the Marius region, the Sipar sulcus, and there's a kind of a bright white spot that he observed multiple times, it looks like, and kind of a creamy tone to it, sort of
Hmm.
probably on that same color palette as some of the Jupiter equatorial bands, like the darker brown ones and kind of the lighter, creamier shades.
Hmm.
But so he has a couple sketches, one at 240 times. And it actually, to me, the one at 240 times almost has like a Mars, sort of appearance, in terms of like
Hmm.
how the albedo features look, and the white spot almost looks like a polar cap because it's quite a ways in the south on this sketch here.
Hmm.
But the one at 380, is very very nice.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the astronomy.com article, Andrew Douglas sketches in that. And I've certainly gone and looked at some of these sketches from Douglas and Barnard and others taken through large telescopes. Yeah, I mean, some of it might be a bit of that business of seeing kind of that internal eye structure, kind of like some people were seeing on Mars with the canals and such.
Hmm.
But for sure, like what I saw was definitely like this eggshell feature on Europa. Um, and if you go through like the literature, you can see where other people have seen similar structures. So to me, this is just like a matter of fact that you can see details. Now, you need like the absolute best night that you can
Mm-hmm.
imagine. Like this
Mm-hmm.
night that I was observing was absolutely astounding, and and Jupiter was fairly high up, although not incredibly so. And then as well, like I was observing with the Takahashi, so pretty good optics would be the other thing. But I think, like you were saying, like what you get is like an impression of what this is, and that
Mm-hmm.
just kind of is what it boils down to.
Yeah, yeah. I think I would also add you would need a tracking mount for the magnifications that you're using here. I think that would be pretty important as well. But yeah, definitely need a great night of seeing. It's pretty easy, I find, just with about any telescope to start to distinguish some of the size differences between the four Galilean moons. Like it's usually pretty easy for me to tell that which one Ganymede is just based on size because it does appear a
Hmm.
little larger. And then Europa a little bit with the color, that one always appears like a little bit of a rusty color to me or kind of an orange tone.
Hmm.
Uh, and then I think Io is the dimmest of the three, and then you
Hmm.
can kind of by elimination determine which one Europa is. Or sorry, why am I I'm drawing a blank here on the fourth one? But uh, assuming I guess all four are visible too, that would be the other caveat. But I'm certainly going to give this some effort once Jupiter is well positioned, if we get some good nights of seeing anyway.
Yeah, that's the trick, is that we didn't quite get there last year. It needs to be that autumn of 2022 was particularly good. But it is nice and high now up in Gemini.
Hmm.
So kind of just looking here now as the days tick by. Once we get into just flash forward, once you get past about mid-September, the mood cuts by on the 16th, and then after that, it's high enough on about the second half of September, and then it's you're going to get a couple, really a few months there where it's going to be in a nice dark sky right at the meridian. So yeah, that's going to be the trick. It's sort of right on the Cancer Gemini border, but that's pretty high for us here. Maybe not quite as high as it gets, but it's right up there as far as altitude goes. Usually that means they're at their furthest point from us, though, it always seems.
Hmm. Hmm. Is an occulting bar favorable with these types of observations, or do you have any insight onto that? Like to
Well,
block
I
out
don't
Jupiter's brightness.
like maybe it. I didn't read anything. I wasn't using one.
Yeah.
And in fact, for my money, it's not that they're not faint.
Hmm.
So having that extra light might, I mean, I would say try it if you have
Yeah.
one, but it might not provide any help because these are pretty bright objects. Like it's not hard to see the moons, and Jupiter is very bright, but it's not like you're trying to see a faint object next to a bright object situation.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's just the detail. But here's the thing: is that you want. In fact, when I made the observation, I went and turned a light on because you want to use the color photoreceptors have better resolution, and because it's all pretty bright stuff anyway. To me, that was a bit of a trick that I had used. It's not a bright light; I have an orange light installed here, so it's a fairly dim light, but it's just bright enough to trigger my photoreceptors, and you want to maybe try something similar. So this isn't like a necessarily like a dark sky observation or anything, but you want to be stable skies. And like I said, tracking mount, I guess I had it on my AZ GTI because I was just observing from my deck here.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, and the neat thing too about this observation is that like you don't need giant aperture. Like we were just, speaking with Alistair Ling and
Mm,
talking about how nice it would be to have a 30-inch Newtonian under dark skies, which is great. But, some like this type of observation, you did it with a 4-inch.
yeah,
There's a lot of people on cloudy nights talking about 5 and 6-inch instruments as well.
yeah.
So, I think as long as you've got a telescope of modest aperture like that, you certainly can have a go at it. Like you said, it probably is largely dependent on your seeing conditions that night, but it's something to put on the observing list for those rare nights where, you look at Jupiter or whatever and just notice how crisp and clear everything is. You may want to really increase the magnification as much as you can and try to tease out some of this detail.
Yeah, and that's kind of well, what I do is try to pick out some interesting events on Jupiter. And at the time, and this is detailed more in episode 266, people can go back and listen to it. We talked about different softwares and that. I think there's one called Jupiter Moons or something to that effect.
Hmm.
And you can go and see what's happening. And that's what I recommend doing is to sort of have a bit of Jupiter observing program running in the back of your head or in your observing schedule, and then just be trying to make these observations, whatever they might be, and then you can kind of go and hopefully get lucky and see something on a good night. And that night I was observing the transit and shadow transit. And so the moon was transiting as well as the shadow. That's what I went to observe. I didn't go to try to see any details on the moons. I think that would be not the best idea because you're just going to fail all of the time
Hmm.
almost. And then, I'd been observing these now for a couple of, well, long time, but, sort of routinely for a few years. And then, oh, that night was the best night. So I don't know. It might take a while. I guess
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
set your expectations pretty low, folks. Like I said, I would have this as kind of like a secondary idea, to say the least.
Yeah, yeah. This is a path to most likely disappointment. But
Yeah.
I think if you're able to make this happen or record the observation, it is a nice one or a special one. And there's a bit of a rabbit hole here too. Like I was reading a little bit about people reporting albedo features on some of the Saturnian moons, like Titan, Tethys, Dion, and that blows my mind. Um,
Yeah, I can see that because they have different shapes to them, which might be more or less what gets picked up or make it easier.
mhm.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And observing Mars, of course, is the trick to all of this, is to, I mean, and let's see, where's it at now? Just looking around here. So I think it's in the morning sky or something like that. Let's just go and take a look and see where Mars is. It might be a bit on the low side right now. Yeah, it's basically setting when the sun sets. It's too close to the sun. But the trick is always is to be making lots of Mars observations like at all times almost. And
Oh,
then,
I guess, hey, sort of simulates the size and
oh
features
yeah.
you'd see, right?
Yeah,
That's a good call.
exactly. Yeah, that's how it's done. That's the real trick if there is one in any of this. And you know, that's just like the old observer's trick. And I've been doing that for years and years, just going out and observing Mars, even when it's not. Like I remember putting reports up like at my old center like years ago in like the late 90s and early 2000s that I was observing Mars. Like, well, why are you bothering? It's like the 3 arc seconds or whatever it is. And no, I think I saw a polar cap or whatever. But because if you're used to making those Mars observations, then at those sizes, those are a good analog for these moons. But sadly, yeah, Mars is a bit out of the equation here for the next few months. So that's out the window. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Maybe try looking for some dark spots on Uranus or Neptune or something would also be good practice.
Hmm. Yeah, all good advice. Yeah, I'm like I say, I'll keep this on my kind of wish list, and if everything works out with good conditions one night, I'll see if I can crank up the power and pull out some features.
I think the contrast filter by Batter too, although
Mm.
we've recommended it a lot. Had maybe in the years one or two people didn't care for it as much. That is to me, it almost rejects a wavelength of light that seems to be most impacted by bad seeing or something like that. It seems to steady up the image a little too. So that might be helpful. But yes, I'm gonna try it with the 7 inch, of course.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Especially once we get things running a little bit smoother with being able to open it and close it without having to mess around too much with getting up on a ladder in the middle of the night kind of thing. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think
You know,
that's
the,
going to be the trick.
this is probably a really good use case too for the bino viewer.
Yeah,
Bino viewer really helps with contrast. Excuse me. And what I've noticed with it too is two eyes almost adds like a little bit of a seeing filter there, like a bad seeing filter.
yeah,
Like it, there's been many nights where I was doing mono viewing, planetary in the backyard, and it was not worth doing. Like it was just the seeing was terrible. There is no way I was going to see features on Mars and very little on Jupiter. I would put in the bino viewer and it still wasn't great, but it was definitely better because your eyes and your brain does some of the processing and it does help a little bit. So who knows? Maybe that's a little bit of a cheat code here as well.
well, you should bring that Bonnevere out here.
Yeah, well, I do want to. I would love to see it attached to that 7 inch,
Yeah,
and that's also when bino viewers start to, I think, really step up is when you have more aperture.
yeah,
Certainly, the comfort and everything else you get with just using the bino viewer, no matter the size of scope, but the larger aperture helps overcome some of the brightness loss that you have with the bino viewer. So yeah, I'm super excited to see how it performs with your
yeah. I
big
felt bad that
TNB.
night. Yeah, I felt bad that night. You did bring it out, but that was my first night running it in like 2 or 3 months, and then yeah, I was just trying to get some regular observing in. I have other stuff here from listeners. Justin had sent those eyepieces, and Alistair had sent that atmospheric corrector, and I'd really like to try those out. Maybe put some dates in the calendar and just try to use that gear. Should send it back. It's been too long.
Mm.
So anyway, like to try some of that stuff out. But yeah, I mean these are great. I guess observing the moon too. But one thing that 7 inch does well is it handles power very well. And I have been running into the mid 300s on the moon and planets.
Oh wow.
So yeah, so I feel like it should do it. Um, but you know what's funny about that scope is I don't like the contrast filter as much with that scope as I do with the apochromats, which is weird because when I was planning on getting that scope, one of the things that I had read is the business about getting chromatic aberration correcting filters, and one of the highly rated chromatic aberration correcting filters is the contrast booster. It supposedly rejects some of those wavelengths of light, but for whatever reason, personally, I don't like it as much in that scope as a more subtle, like just minus violet filter or something to that effect. But that's just my own experience. It just shows that every telescope and every observer is differently. I'm also not, I don't know, Shane, I would rather have the aperture and the sharpness. I'm not personally, obviously, about a big achromat, as concerned about some of that secondary color.
Hmm.
It's the resolution and getting the light and all that stuff. But do have a few other things we can try, like putting some of the Barlows in front, and there's a few other tweaks with that scope that we can try to reduce the color. I think if you put a Barlow ahead of the diagonal, I've tried that a little bit. I think that like it's subtle. A lot of the stuff is subtle, and I have a minus violet filter from SV Boney of all places. Strangely enough, it was super cheap, and I tried it and couldn't believe how great it was,
Hmm.
and haven't bothered really even looking at anything else. So, might try to get a couple more filters in, and yeah, we can give it a go. Honestly, if we had a night like that night that we had, even when you were here, we had a good night of seeing one night when you were here with your TSA 102. If we had a night like that night with the 7 inch and the bino viewer, I can't imagine we wouldn't see some detail on those moons. So
Yeah, I agree. And in this one thread, I didn't send you a link to this one, but one of the posters commented and he said, "I remember a story of someone testing a TMB 7 inch scope maybe it was Back himself, and the test report was, I can see detail on Io.
Oh,
so, yeah, I think with that kind of aperture on, just even a probably above average night, we would have a decent shot.
yeah, I'm sure that was one of the appos, though. I think they
Oh,
did
maybe. Yeah.
make some appos, but who knows? Like that telescope it is a very strange beast of an instrument. Like the more I use it, the more I love it, the more it's not you sort of have to leave all your misconceptions and preconceptions of any observational astronomy ideas that you've had before you walk in the door and start looking through that instrument. It's just um, it really does give some superb images. There definitely is color there, but what you can see through that instrument, I mean, I've seen lots of stuff already I never even dreamed I could see, through any instrument um, before. So yeah, it's really nice. And I think really, honestly, Shane, I think what it boils down to is just like laws of physics. They always say, oh, well, telescopes can't defy laws of physics. That's true. But when they work to optimize the laws of physics, like for example, one of the reasons why an 8-inch telescope is sort of such a supreme instrument is you're getting about as big a telescope as you can get before seeing grossly disadvantages the aperture, right?
Mhm. Yep.
Cool down, all that kind of stuff applies to the 7-inch equally, if not more, because there's no central obstruction. And then, as well, one of the things that I think gets a little bit forgotten about when we're talking about big acromats in particular is that the instrument is way above the ground, so you're not that, and I think that's why it almost seems like it performs better than it should. Is that there's no, I mean, that objective is, I mean, when you look at that thing, it's sitting like sometimes 10 or 12 feet above the ground level. There's no ground currents at 12 feet up, like
Yeah, no
y-
kidding.
and so you're really kind of, yeah, like you're not able to break the laws of physics, but when you're putting the objective so high above any ground currents, it's basically running at tree level because I have it up on a hill, up on an elevated platform in the observatory, up on a 5-foot pier that has a 2-foot-ish mount on it. I mean, that lens, when we're looking to the east and it's pointing out over the other side, it's way above the ground by at least a dozen feet. So, because I think the edge of the observatory is 3 feet high anyway before you go 8 feet up. So that's
Yeah, that's a
12
really good
feet.
point. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're getting
Yeah.
through some of that real dirty air, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Just the ground turbulence
Hmm.
alone. Um, it's surprising. Yeah. So I think that's one of those things. But yeah, I'm excited to kind of play around with that a little bit more. Really, I'm just excited to hopefully get through the things I have to get through in the next few weeks and get back rocking and rolling here. I'm hoping by the third, if not the fourth week of September, to really being able to observe. That's the goal. So yeah.
Yeah,
What
yeah. No,
else?
I think it's time to read a couple emails here.
Sure. Do you want to go for it? I've lost my notes.
Yeah, sure. So we have an email here from Kevin, and he says, "Hi, Chris and Shane. Can't believe how long it's been since we last corresponded. It's been crazy busy. I hope you are both doing well. I continue to enjoy listening to your podcast, and even though we've never met in person, I consider you two as good friends. I wanted to drop you a quick email update on what's been going on with my astronomy journey, but it looks like this could be lengthy, so apologies. I have several subjects to hit upon, so bear with me. So
You
maybe
could
I'll
read.
read a
Maybe
couple,
we could
Chris,
switch
and
back and
yeah,
forth.
we can.
Yeah, you want to read one, I'll read one. We'll go back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah. So, top news is the observatory build. Finally, after 20 years of dreaming about it, I've started construction of my observatory. It's a 10 by 15 foot roll off. Man, that's a good size. Whew, I like
Mm.
that. With an 8 by 8 foot attached warm room. Holy smokes, this is astronomy luxury. He said the roof will slide off and over the warm room. I started it on May 5th, and ever since I began construction, we have had record breaking rainfall here in
Mm.
southwest Missouri. The curse is real, not kidding. I had to erect a tent over the construction site in order to do anything. The holes I dug for the concrete piers filled up with rainwater 3 times before we finally had a dry spell
Mm.
and I could pour concrete. I have attached some photos of the progress. I am getting ready to start putting up walls. I'm loving every minute of the construction, and he's living the dream. He says so. That's pretty cool.
So, and this kind of confused me a little because and he is not the only person who is both an observer, listening to the podcast, building a larger observatory, and experiencing rainfall and having to erect a tent around it. I was so confused when I got this email because another observer wrote us 2 months ago and had sent very similar photos with a very similar story. And I was like, there's probably two people that are experiencing this on the face of the planet right now, and they're both listeners to the show. Like, what are the chances? So, anyway, I can appreciate that. All right. And he said a new telescope. He said that he was concerned about the pricing, as the pricing of everything seems to be in flux with tariffs and uh, supply chain challenges and all this. So I went ahead and bought an Ioptron 14-inch RC Richard Cochin to mount permanently in my observatory for live stacking and astrophotography. I hope to have it mounted and ready to go before winter. I bought a Skywatcher EQ8-R mount for it. Very exciting. That is very exciting,
That's a big mount,
Shane.
isn't it?
It is. I really, that's one of those mounts where in the like I wasn't gonna get one. I couldn't afford one. But I was like, ooh, that if I had to get an EQ mount, if I was, remember there was that 9-inch Acromat F77 for sale that
Yes.
Tyson
Yeah.
had.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was like daydreaming about that on that mount would be such a great combination. But anyway, and he also has Kevin also has a dolly. This one was directed at you though. Do you want to read this?
Yeah, sorry, just I had a quick look at this
Oh,
mount, and the payload is 110 pounds.
yeah.
Holy smokes. Wow, that's incredible.
Mm,
Okay, yeah,
yeah.
I will read the next one here talking about a dolly. So I was tired of hauling around the large refractor and the 12-inch Dob, so I constructed a wooden dolly that can transport and anchor either one anywhere in the yard. I only mention this because of Shane's situation. I know Shane's preference for being able to set up his telescope anywhere in the yard and not be bound to a permanent observatory. I have the perfect solution for him. He just needs to build a nice insulated shed with a ramp, then get one of these dollies to mount his telescope on. That way he can buy one of those new Ascar 203
Mhm.
millimeter Apo refractors. Weight won't be an issue anymore. Or maybe he would prefer the TAC TOA 150B. Yeah, I wouldn't object to that. I just need another mortgage.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to help him with fulfill his dreams. And, I appreciate him mentioning that. And I've thought about that many times. Like, you can buy these little garden sort of storage sheds or, kind of some of them just look like boxes where you flip up the roof and then like two doors sort of open up for access, and they'd be ideal to store telescopes in. And have considered this whole sort of dolly thing as well. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I have to give it a little more thought. Part of my joy too is using different telescopes and things of that nature, but I do have a bit of a desire for a larger aperture refractor, so
Mm.
this might be one way to turn that into reality. So it looks like he's got some books here to
Yeah,
recommend.
he says astronomy related books I recommend while constructing the observatory and driving to work. Besides listening to you guys, which is great, I have been listening to some incredible audio books your listeners might love. The first is The Universe by Andrew Cohen and Professor Brian Cox. Great overview of what we can see in the night sky. Next is A Brief History of Black Holes and Why Nearly Everything You Know About Them Is Wrong by Dr. Becky Smethurst. And I guess as somebody also building an observatory, I know a lot about black holes, at least for money and time. The Planets by Andrew Cohen and Professor Brian Cox again. He's not yet finished this one, but it's really mind-blowing, he says. And I know you two are always looking for new ideas for episodes. One suggestion would be for you both to listen to one of these audiobooks and then share the new information you gained or found the most fascinating to share with your listeners. The Planets is the one he might recommend. And he even talks about the Galilean moons in there. So that's in line with what we were talking about earlier. So that could be a good place to start. We should do that in the winter. That'd be a good winter project, Shane. We could both, and maybe we can, yeah, even kind of throw it out to listeners that these are the
Yeah,
books we're going to listen to, and people could kind of listen to the books and chime in while we're making our way through them. And
a
yeah,
virtual book club through the podcast.
yeah. Yeah, I like it. I
Yeah, I
like it.
do
Yeah,
too.
I've listened to a few astronomy audiobooks. I enjoy them. My problem is that usually I lay down at night when I'm doing this, and then I get about 5 minutes in and
Mm.
suddenly I'm an unconscious person.
I shouldn't say this because this might undermine what we're doing here, Chris, but I've started to listen to way more audiobooks than podcasts.
Yeah, good
So I
stuff.
kind of ebb and flow, I go back and forth, but right now I'm in a big audiobook phase. So
Good.
yeah.
Good. Yeah. Peter emailed us a short one. He says, Hi, Chris and Shane. I've been enjoying the recent episodes, especially the one with Mike O'Brien and the one with Shane's visit to the grasslands. Lots of observing expertise on play. Not much observing here to the raining clouds in the monsoon season of the southern US. And Peter's building an observing bench. He said, I spent several days building a rolling observing bench for my observing pad. The shelves are made out of plywood, 2x4s and 2x6s, and he's put casters on it. And he's going to take it to his observing site at the CSB. We had him on before talking about the CSB. It was great. And then it was given some thoughts to Shane's questions. RE starting scope for 6-year-old. Here's 2 cents worth that I came up with an Astrotech 70 mil and or a SV Beni 70 mil. And these are 70 millimeter f6.7s, good optics, ED scopes, very good build quality, and fairly inexpensive. Mount, he suggests the 225 by SB Boney. I think other people have recommended that mount as well, haven't
I think so. It's familiar. I haven't looked at that one, but yeah, I think a few other folks in emails have talked highly of it.
they? I think it looks like the old version of the Takahashi Lapides, which I believe is out of
Ooh.
production by many, many years. So, and that's what I had. I had the modified one, which
Oh
means it
yeah.
doesn't have the big arm on it. But
I
I think that's what they've done is they've just taken an older design and kind of freshened it up. And I think
yeah,
there was, go
I
ahead.
think Skywatcher maybe had a version of this or Explore
Yeah, they did. I
Scientific. I can't
bought it.
remember. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I bought it for my nephew.
Yeah.
It was called the AZ5. Not to be confused with, I think the AZ4, which is a completely different mount that I do not recommend.
Hmm.
But yes, there's been a few renditions of these over the years. Also, Vixen had made one as well. And then he goes on to say that he would suggest something like that with the carbon fiber tripod of an inexpensive variety, maybe from Amazon or something. Clear skies. Peter. Thanks, Peter. Thanks for this. Really nice.
Yeah. Yeah. That is really good. Uh,
You want to read the
Next
one
one
from
here.
Dan
Yeah.
from
From
Switzerland?
Yeah, yeah. So he says, I picked up an 8-inch Daub a month ago and had many memorable moments so far, like the whoa of the first time seeing Saturn, Jupiter, and its moons, our moon filling half my field of view. As I haven't met other amateur astronomers yet, your podcast was often running while hauling or observing, and besides the company, I learned a lot from you guys. On a later observing session, I had once a bad seating solution and then realized how important your advice was to having
Mm,
a great start into this pastime. Yeah, you and I are pretty solid on the chair recommendation.
mm, mm-hmm.
Dan goes on to say here, also, you made a great case for astro sketching, and I find it interesting that it's that it is not a distraction as I assumed, but a deeper engagement in a way to create fond memories. I enjoy your stories very much and found the e.g. the adventure of meeting a stranger at a barn in New Zealand. Is that it?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Hilarious. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. There was the that story we read.
Yeah, that was great.
Some months ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for kindling my love for the skies. Below, I'm sending you a photo of my setup after getting up early near Bern to see Venus and Jupiter in one field of view. And another from a daytime sketch of the moon feature called Wather.
Mm.
My very best regards and clear skies. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. And I actually went out and saw that close pairing, but just with my eyes there of Venus and Jupiter the other morning.
Oh, good.
I'll read Ernie, and this is our last email. Thanks, Ernie. Ernie writes, Chris and Shane, I like the option to borrow a scope regarding 6-year-olds and other folks who are on the young side and what to get them. Here's another take that I offer when getting this inquiry. What's the best scope I can get for X dollars? It is for my young child, grandchild, etc. Think of it as purchase for the family, not just one child. This thinking can help justify spending on reasonable quality instruments. It can become something the family does together. The child with interest may grow to be the primary user or not. I think this approach solves the collimation dilemma for the tabletop dobs like the Skywatcher Heritage or the Astronomers Without Borders. One sky, assuming the alignment will be required, a 6-year-old should be able to or should not be handling a laser. But an adult in the family could. An adult should be around anyways to make sure the child does not point the scope at the sun. Hope this approach makes sense. The lunar scope is a great option as well. Thanks for that, Ernie.
Yeah, yeah. I read that when Ernie sent that, and it's a great suggestion, or like just to change the perspective a bit that you're buying
Mm,
it for the family and not just, a child. Because what is kind of neat about this suggestion, and I've seen it happen in our own club here in Regina, is that again, you think you're buying it for, yeah, your one child in your family, but it sparks interest in others, and
yeah,
then the others may become the primary user
yeah.
of the instrument, and discover a love for astronomy. So great suggestion.
Yeah, and that's what happened to me. Exactly, is that I had purchased the instrument with one nephew in mind, who is my largest nephew. He's a bigger dude than me now, I think. And and then it was one of my, yeah, younger, obviously smaller nephews who ended up taking it up. So I was glad because my larger nephew could easily handle like an 8 or a 10-inch dot, no problem at all. That like probably a 20-inch dot would be fine. Um, but for the younger nephews and smaller folks, it's not going to work as well, obviously. So I was glad I ended up getting the scope I did. So I like that recommendation by Ernie, and I like the recommendation by Peter for the 70 mil EDs. I think those are coming down so much in cost now. Like there's a more like now versus when I did this, which was almost, well, it was 5 years ago now, or almost six. Um, the price of those 70 mil EDs have come down so far and so fast that in many respects, it's tough to make the argument for the ST80, just because, you can get those scopes for such a great price.
Hmm. Yeah, no, that's one of the better bargains out there for sure.
Good stuff. Well, anything else to add there, Shane?
No, that is all, Chris.
All right, folks, please subscribe, share the show with other stargazers you know, and send us your show ideas, observations, and questions to actualastronomy@gmail.com.
Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we hope you enjoyed the show. If you are interested in more information, would like to contact us, or if you would like to support the podcast, check out our website, actualastronomy.com.